Today we are going to continue what we mentioned in the last week. In the last week, we talked about the structural array, right? And today you can see the topic. We are going to talk about a different type of the array, cell array. Okay? And I have to say, when we are talking about the cell array, I will ask you to compare what you learned in the last week to what we will learn in this week. Okay, so you will compare the cell array with the structure array. Okay, you may find out both arrays can give you the flexibility to actually store different types of the content. Okay, in some way they are pretty similar, but I have to say they are totally different. So this is your job today. This is your mission today to compare these two different kind of arrays. But I have to admit, both types of arrays are very, very useful. We will use these two different arrays in different situations, but both of them are very, very useful. So I personally encourage all of you to learn both of them, to understand both of them pretty well, okay? And for the second part of today's course, I'm going to take Excel file as the example. Okay, so Excel file itself is very useful to store or to organize very big data set. Okay, so we will take the Excel file, how to read it, how to write data into an Excel file using Matlab or through Matlab today. Okay, so you will see this kind of the example in the second part of the content. So again, if you didn't download all the materials, handout, today, just visit my website. You can find everything you need. And please turn on your Matlab and switch the current directory to the MI materials underline L6, okay? We are going to use them later. So let's start the very first part, cell array. So now you can see this slide. You may find out it's pretty similar to what we saw in the last week, right? But you may find it's a little bit different. Again, we are talking about a complex data set. We'll take this example. You can see, for example, we have 30 normal subjects data on hand. Also, we have another 30 patients data on hand, right? And we are going to access all different types of the data right here. Okay, I actually, this is identical to the previous slide. The only difference, you may find out now, I'm going to ask all of you, try to find out there is a mat file that I provided in the MI materials underline L6 folder. Try to find out this mat file, and you can see the file name is a little bit different compared to the last time. Today, you are going to access this mat file named as the example cell.mat. Last week, we are using the mat file as the example structure, right? So it's a little bit different. But anyway, I'm going to ask you to import this file into Matlab. Again, you have two different ways to accomplish this goal. You can either doing so-called drag and drop. Okay, drag the file and drop it into the workspace. This is the very first way you can do. The second way, you can simply key in or use the load function within the command window. Okay, of course, you need to switch the current directory to the MI materials underline L6. Okay, do it right now. Again, after you do so, just check what you can see, what the variables that you can see within the workspace. Okay, so do it right now. I didn't take the control, so you can just do it by yourself. So now I'm going to do the same thing with you. Okay, so you can find out this mat file right here, example cell. Just do this kind of the drag and drop. Then you can immediately see these two different variables right here. The very first thing that you should notice is the size of the variable. In the last week, you may find out the structure array would be like 1 by 30 or 30 by 1. If you do remember, because we have 30 normal controls and we do have 30 patients, right? But today, you can see the type. It is definitely the cell array. It's really okay if you don't know what is a cell array right now. But another different thing you may find out is the size. The size for each array is 31 by 7, right? But come back to the slide, you may find out we only have 30 subjects for each variable or for each group, right? While we have 31. Now what we can do, we double click on any variable right here. Now let's take a look. It may easily find out that, oh, I know why, because the very first row right here, you can see this is actually the row that stored all the title or the label for each column right here. So I spend one row in this cell array. For example, the very first element for the first row is name, right? You can see it's the string name. The second element for the first row is a string of age right here. And so forth, so on. You can see I just spend one row to store all the information for each column right here. Okay, but start from the second row to the 31st row right here. You can see, okay, they are all the subject data. So start from the NC01 and go to the NC30 right here. Okay, so now you can understand the very first difference, compare the structure array and the cell array. In cell array, we need to spend one row. Normally, it should be the first row to label what is the meaning of each column, okay? And the second thing right here, you may find out it is a matrix with a size like 31 by 7, right? So now we have 7 column right here. Compared to the structure array, we mentioned that within a structure array, we can define fields. So in the structure array, actually, we have 7 different fields. But in cell array, we don't have the concept of the field. So we need to expand all the data using the 7 different column right here. I think this is the second difference right here. Okay, so the size should be 31 by 7 right here. Okay, let's just get rid of these two differences right here. Let's think about whether the content is the same or not. Let's just check. You can see actually the content is identical compared to the previous one. We can see NC01. We can see the age, gender, height, weight. They are numbers, right? Right here, I think this one to this one. Yeah, they are numbers. This one, it is a string, right? And again, for the pre-data column right here, you can see actually we can also store a number matrix, or specifically double matrix within this entry or within this element. So you can, again, double click on it. You may find out, yes, it is actually a matrix, right? So it's pretty similar, or I should say the same, identical. It is exactly what we did using the structure array, okay? So you can do pretty similar things to double click on the ST variable and do your observation. So now let's think about this. Again, cell array can have the same purpose with the structure array. We can actually store all different kinds of data within one array. Okay, but of course, we use it in a little bit different way, that we may spend one row for labeling. We may expand all the different type of the information along the column axis. Okay, this is what we did, right? So I use this slide to tell you that, yes, just like what we did, you can double click on this one. So it's just tell you that for a cell, cell array, it contains lots of the small cells or small elements right here. For each cell, you can double click on it and you can see the content. So for this example, we can see there is a number matrix or double matrix within, okay? So you can see this is a quick comparison between the cell and the structure array. For the left-hand side right here, you can see left-hand side, it is the cell array. For the right-hand side, it is the structured array. So now take a very close look, just like what we mentioned. For cell array, we actually spend one row for the labeling, right? But for structured array, actually you may find out it is not the first row, it is actually the fields. So for structured array, we can define field. But for cell array, there is no field. There is no concept of field. This is a very different thing, okay? But you can see actually the content is pretty similar, although the number may be different because I used the random generators to generate these two different metrics. So the number within each element may be a little bit different. But anyway, we can actually store pretty similar types like the number array, like the string, like the number itself. We can put all of them within either the cell array or structure array. We can do that. Okay, so you need to understand what is the difference and what is the similarity between two different arrays. Okay. Okay, so now we can do this. I'm going to show you how to create a cell array. So you can see for the upper example right here. For the upper example, again, you can see we are going to store 5 different English names within an array. But for the upper example right here, you can see we are using the squared brackets. And that means it is simply a string array or a character array, nothing special. But for this kind of example, you need to remember each row has to come with the same length of the column. So we need to add in additional or extra spaces to make sure that each row would have the same number of the characters, right? Again, this is stupid, so you don't need to do this right now. And I believe you have already did this in the last week. But today, we're going to take this example. So now what you can do, you can try to key in this command line within the command window. I just want to emphasize what is the difference. The very first thing is the brackets. Right here, in the lower example right here, this is so-called curly brackets. It's a little bit different, right? So do remember, if you want to declare a cell array, you need to use curly brackets. Okay, you use curly brackets to include all the elements you want to put in, okay? But right now, because this is a cell array, it has a pretty similar property of the structure array. We don't really need to consider extra spaces to make sure all the columns are the same, okay? We don't need to do that. So now you can feel comfortable to actually key in the name without any additional spaces right here. Okay, so now you can see Davy, and I put the semicolon right here, okay? And then Andy, semicolon, Jay, semicolon, Jolene, semicolon, and Selena. Once you key in, just check what you can get in the workspace, okay? I want to know what is the dimension of this list cell array. Okay, tell me about what is the dimension. 1 times 5. So someone is talking about the list is the array with the size of 1 times 5. Any other answer? Just check. We have the semicolon, right? That means we are changing the row. So maybe it should be 5 times 1. Okay, 5 by 1 should be the correct answer, right? I can do this with you. Okay, so now you will see, yes, list should be 5 by 1 cell array because we use the semicolon, right? Between each entry right here, each element right here, we use the semicolon. So if you double click on this list cell array, you can see the type is cell, okay? Now you can see we just put all 5 different English names with different sizes, okay? We just put them within this cell array, okay? So this is a very, very quick example that showing you that you can simply use the curly brackets to declare or to create a cell array. Okay. So Now, what you can do right now, again, don't ask, just follow what you see on the slides. I'd like you to ask all of you to key in all these 6 command lines right here. Of course, after you finish the fourth command line right here, you can stop. You can check what you have within the workspace, okay? But after you check after the 4th command line, you can go for the 5, 6, and the 7th command line right here. Okay, so I'm going to give you some time. Try to key in this, okay? So now you can see again, on the right-hand side of the equal sign, you can always see the curly brackets. Okay, that means you are going to create a cell array. Okay, so do it now. Do think about this. When we were creating the structure array, we use the period with the followed by the field name, right? But for cell array, we simply use the curly brackets. Okay, just think about what is the difference. Okay, so let me ask. Once you finish the first line of the command line right here, what is the size of the data? So let me check whether this is actually 1 by 3. Okay, so yes, we do have a data array. Of course, this is a cell array, right? We do have the data array with the size 1 by 3 within the workspace, right? You can double click on it, and now you basically see, I have to say simply a label right here. You see name, you see age, you see pre-data. So now you may find out for the first 4 command lines right here, I basically declare the label for each column right here, but there is nothing about the data. Okay, so for the 5th to 7th command line right here, we are going to store the data for the very first subject, right? So you can see NC01. So okay, so once you key in all the command lines that I displayed on the slide, you should be able to see the same result that I display right now, right? Now you can see the data, it has the size of 2 by 3. Okay, but actually we only store data for a single subject, right? Because the very first line, we didn't count it as the subject data. It's simply the label, okay? Okay, and for the second row right here, now it's the data for NC01. Although we only try to put the data of the age and the pre-data right here, okay? But anyway, you can see this is the data for NC01, okay? So let's take a close look right here. Just follow me. I may need to take your screen. Now, please follow me again. I just want to emphasize what you should do to create a cell array. Very first things, you can see here is the equal sign. But for the right-hand side of the equal sign, if I really want to put something within this cell array, I will use these curly brackets, okay? So not the squared brackets, but the curly brackets. And for the left-hand side right here, you can see this is something about the index. Okay, I want to set a value to a specific index of the data, right? So I put a name, of course, in a cell array type right here, into the first row, first column index right here. And again, you can see when we are talking about the index, we use parentheses. Okay, we didn't use squared brackets, we didn't use curly brackets, we use parentheses. So do remember, if you are doing the get value, set value index, you need to go with parentheses right here. Okay. So you can follow this idea to store different types of the information within this data. Okay. So now try this one. Try this one. Before you do anything, I want to ask, can you simply compare the upper part with the lower part and tell me what is the difference? I have to tell you first in advance that actually upper part and the lower part can give you the same result. Both of them are correct, but they are different, right? They are different. So think about this. What is the difference between upper part and the lower part? I think it is apparently that we are doing something with the third row of the data. We try to put the data of the second NC subject into this data array, right? For the upper part, I think it's pretty familiar, right? Because we are doing the same thing. We use the curly brackets on the right-hand side of the equal, right? But for lower part, you may find out some strange things occurs, right? You see, teacher, you are using curly brackets for the index. Okay, a little bit weird, right? But I'm going to ask you to key in these three command lines. Okay, key in these three command lines into the command window and just tell me what you can see right now. Just like what I said, it will work, right? It will work, right? It helps you to put the data for the second subject into the correct position, right? Specifically, the third row of this cell array. So this kind of the practice give you the idea that we do have different way to key in the data into a cell array. Okay? So I'm going to give you a couple seconds so you can try whether you can do this. I think all of you should successfully put the data for the second objects into the data array, right? Just take a careful look right here. I mentioned that the difference between upper part and lower part is that I put the curly brackets on the left-hand side of the equal sign, right? For the lower part, I do this. And you can find out it still works, okay? So I'm going to give you a new conclusion. The new conclusion is the curly brackets, every single time when you are talking something or you are doing something with the cell array, you do need curly brackets. I think it is no problem. But now you can see the rule should be modified as you can either put the curly brackets on the right-hand side of the equal right here, or you can put the curly brackets on the left-hand side. Actually, you can pick either side, but you can only pick one side. You cannot do both. For example, if I'm going to key in something like this, if I try to put brackets, curly brackets for both sides, what would happen? I have to say it should be okay, but it will become a little bit weird. So just take a look right here. This is the original. Maybe I can put it for the fourth row right here so you can compare, okay? So if I do this, you can see it still work, right? However, I do give everything the same with the upper example right here, but the only difference is that I put an additional curly brackets right here. So you may find out what is the difference. For the very first one, it seems to be the same, but for the second one, third one, it's become a little bit weird. I cannot see the number, okay, for the age, right? I cannot see the array size for the pre-data. But if you double click on it, you will still see 57. You double click on it, you would still see this. So I have to say, for this example, you make the things become more complex because right here, you make this entry or this element as another cell array because you put another set of the curly brackets right here. Okay, so I have to say, for every single time you use a set of the curly brackets, then it means it is something about creating a new cell array. So compared to the other example, I only use the curly brackets once, right? So it will follow the original formation right here. But if you use another set of the brackets, it will put a new cell within this element, right? Like the cell array within the cell array. Okay, I will say it is incorrect. It is still work, right? But the type would be a little bit different compared to the upper example. So I would give you a simple conclusion. For the cell array, if you want to create something, you want to put something within the cell array, try to use curly brackets on just one side of the equal sign. You can put it for the right-hand side, or you can put it for the left-hand side. You can replace the parentheses for the index, okay, using the curly brackets. But you should not use both. Even this kind of the command line is correct, but it will make everything become more complex, okay? So think about this. You don't really need to do what I did. Create a force row. You don't really need to do that. So think about this. You can simply ask your Matlab, what is data? You say data of 1, but now you are using the parentheses. And what is data? And you are going to data of 1, but you are using the curly brackets. It's a little bit different. It will be a little different. So you can see the result. Of course, you can type on your computer, but you can directly see the result right here. If you simply use data with parentheses 1, you will see the answer. It is 1 by 1 cell array. Okay, you can see the curly brackets right here. But if you use data with the curly brackets 1 right here, you will see the answer is a string. A little bit different, right? So let me give you this example. The type is different, right? So let's think about this. Data is something like a cabinet. Cabinet means you may have several different drawers. Okay, drawers within this. For example, for the data right now, I think we don't need. I'm going to remove because you don't have the fourth row, so I'm going to remove it. So I will have the same thing with you. Okay. For this data right here, you can think about this. It is pretty similar like a cabinet right here. And then you actually have 9 different drawers. First a drawer, second, third, and fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth. You have 9 drawers within it, okay? And think about this. When I am using something like this one, you can see data and with parentheses. Parentheses is simply doing the get value or set value index. So basically, it will give you the whole drawer. So you will just directly put the whole drawer out. So basically, for this kind of things, it is still a cell array. Do remember, each element with a cell array is a drawer, right? But if you really want to get out the content, for example, there are 2 socks within this drawer, you should use these curly brackets right here. It will help you to actually get out the content. Okay, it will allow you to access the content. So when you use these kind of things, data with the curly brackets, it will help you to get what is actually stored within this drawer. So basically, this is a string. So you can see the difference right here. A huge cell array is more like a cabinet with several different drawers. If you use a parentheses, it just gives you one of the drawers. So it is still a cell array. If you want to get the content, you should use the curly brackets. Okay, so please do the exercise right now and try to figure out what is the difference. Okay, so again, if you want to get the full matrix of the predata, for example, for the very first subjects, you can type in something like, you can find out for this very first subject, it should be located at second row and the third column, right? You can ask what is this one? Okay, so if you go for this one, again, using the parentheses, you will basically get the drawer. So again, it should be 1 by 1 cell array, just one of the drawer, right? But if you go for this one, the curly brackets, 2, 3, right here, you will get everything stored within this drawer. So it will directly give you and 8 by 450 double array. Okay, so you can see this is a result. It's pretty huge, right? You can see the answer is 8 by 450 double array right here. Okay, so think about this. What is the difference between these two different ways to get the data? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example to get the value from the entry of the cell array. Okay, so let me take the control back. But before that, I just want to introduce two useful functions for you. Okay, the first one is cell. You can help it. You will find out the cell is a function that can help you create empty cell array. So you can do a very simple exercise right here. You can help it. And the manager will tell you that you can simply use this kind of the input. It will help you to create an n by n cell array. Or if you want to create not a square array, you can use this one. It will help you to create an m by n array. So let me try it. If I try to create a cell array named as the data 2, I can use the cell. So for example, I'm going to get the 3 by 4. Okay, or maybe larger. Okay, I can get a 5 by 10 anyway. So if you use this one, you will immediately see in the workspace, I do have a cell array data 2 right here with the size 5 by 10. Again, you can double click on it. You will find out this is an empty cell array, so nothing inside. It just simply help you to create, to define the size of the cell array. Okay, so now you can just put something one by one into the specific location right here. You can do that. So this is the very first function that you can learn about the cell array. And the second function is this one. You can see, again, this name is pretty straightforward. Is cell. So basically, if you input some variable into this array, into this function will give you the answer true or false, whether what you input is a cell array or not. Okay, so we can take what we practice. You can see for this one, we have already mentioned that this is the cell array, right? So if I use a cell with this kind of the input, it will give me 1. 1 means true, okay? But if I just change a little bit, I just replace the parentheses by the curly brackets right here. So what is the answer? 1 or 0? It should be 0, right? Because for this kind of the get value process, it will get the actual content. And the actual content right here should be the string. So the answer would be 0. So I just trying to tell you that these are two different things, okay, you can use. Okay, so let's just go for this example. So now please key in this kind of the command line within the command window. So basically, I am creating a new variable a, right? You can see a right here, and you can see I use the curly brackets on the right hand side. Okay, so you can see the very first element of this cell array is a random. This is a random generator. Okay, this is a matrix with a size 6 by 4 with all the random numbers inside. And then for the second element of this A cell array, you can see this is a random array with a size, okay, with a size of 5 by 7. Okay, so do it. So you can see right now I'm using the comma between two random generator, right? So basically I will get a size like a 1 by 2, not 2 by 1. But if you use the semicolon right here, it will be 2 by 1. Okay, you can just try it by yourself. So once you have this A within the workspace, what you can do, think about this. Can you get the value? Can you get the value for this specific position. Okay, it should be the matrix saved in the second entry of the cell. But I'm going to ask you to get the value for the specific row, the fourth row, specific column, the fifth column. So if you want to get the value for this location, what is the command line you should give? Okay, think about this. You have the A on hand, and you are going to get this fourth row and the fifth column. So you can check after you create this A cell array right here. Yes, you can see for the first entry, 6 by 4. For the second entry, it is 5 by 7, right? But if you really want to get the specific value from the second entry right here, do remember, you should not use this one. Sorry, you should not use this command, because for this case, it simply gives you the drawer, the second drawer. This is not what you want, because I want to get the value, right? So what you should do, you should use the curly brackets with the 2 inside. For this way, you will have the chance to actually access this 5 by 7 matrix, right? So you can simply just key in this, and then you will find out, you will get the value for this 5, okay, by 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's just too long, so maybe just break it into 2 parts. Okay, you can compare the value. It's identical within what you stored within the second entry, right? Okay. But this is not good enough, because I said I need you to access the specific row and specific column, right? So think about this. It's pretty similar to what we did for the structure array. You can just continue your command, right? You can using the parentheses right here, like fourth row and the fifth column right here. For this case, you try to concatenate this second part of the indexing with the first part, because we know first part will give you the 5 by 7 double array. And for the second part, it will help you to further access the specific row and the specific column, okay? So it will help you to get the value. For example, the fourth row, fifth column, you can see the number should be 0.2396. And you can see this is the right answer, right? Okay, so basically you should think about this. I think, again, your answer may be different compared to mine, because we are using the random generator, right? So you may have the different answer with me, but you should check whether you do get the right value for this specific location, okay? Okay, I think, again, you need to compare this kind of the index with the structure array. Think about what is the same, what is different. Again, I just want to emphasize, for structure array, we do have the field. So we use the period come with the followed by the field name, right? But for cell array, we only use the curly brackets. Okay, we use the curly brackets to get the value, okay? But again, we always followed by these parentheses to do the indexing issue. Okay, so it's a pretty similar idea that if you want to do the matrix operation, I think this is pretty similar to the last example. But now, if we want to access the different region, for example, now we'd like to access the data for the, for example, for the first entry, first element right here, I'd like to get the data from the second to fourth row, and the second to third column right here. So you can see this is a statement, right? A with the curly brackets, 1, 1. So this is the very first element right here. And then you can see the row range and the column range. So pretty similar, if I want to access or get the value from the second element right here, you can see now it's 1, 2, because this is the second column, right? But I will take a further step. I'd like to access the value within this drawer, right? Within the second element right here. So you can see second to fourth column, fifth to sixth, second to fourth rows, and fifth to sixth, okay, columns right here. So now you can easily perform the matrix operation. Okay. So I think this example should be straightforward. Okay, you can practice by yourself. Okay, the final thing I'd like to mention, when you try to do the concatenation of the cell array, I think it's basically follow the same rule as usual. I mean, as what you did for the usual double array. Okay, so you can take a look right here. For the left-hand side, we use the zeros generator right here. So what do we have for A and B on the left-hand side? There are two different double arrays, right? With the size 3 by 2 and 5 by 2. For this kind of situation, think about this. If I try to use the squared brackets to do, you can see this is only a space right here. So it's more like the horizontal concatenation, right? But in this case, you will see error message because this kind of the situation, you will find out these two different matrices, these two different arrays right here, they have different rows, right? They have different row numbers right here. So there's no way to put a 3 by 2 array, this is A, with the 5 by 2 B array using this kind of the horizontal concatenation because they have different number of the rows, right? So you will see the error message. But if you go for these kind of things, you can see for this case, this is not right? But for this case, you can see we replace the space or even the comma by the semicolon. That means we change the line. So it will become the idea like this one. I try to change line, put B, doing this kind of a vertical concatenation. So now you see there's no error message. And I can say the size of the C would become 8 by 2. Okay? And you can find out we can do pretty similar things for cell array, right? This is zeros array, so this is simply the double array. But now we have already talked about how to use the cell. Cell will give you an empty cell array with a specified size. So 3 by 2, 5 by 2, identical size right here. But the only difference is that AB right now is the cell array. But again, you will see identical result. You can do the vertical concatenation, but you cannot do horizontal concatenation because it still follows the same rule that for the horizontal concatenation, you need to make sure the row size are the same for the two concatenated arrays right here. But for the vertical concatenation, you only need to make sure that the column number right here are the same. Okay, so I think this idea should be straightforward, right?